Hi, it's Ingrid. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Happy bookmas. It's time for my November wrap-up. The reason I didn't do it sooner is because I was pre-filming videos in November for bookmas, and I didn't want to do my wrap-up before the reading vlogs of those books came out. So now that I've posted all of the ones I filmed in November, I can finally do it. I read 7 books, I think. Wait, I need to get something actually. Wait a second. I have 9 books to talk about. I finished 7 books this month, but I still want to talk about 2 others as well. I'm gonna put them down so I can actually do something. As always, I will do this in the order I read them. I tried to write down some reviews. I wrote 2 and then I gave up. So we're just gonna hope that I remember everything I have to say. I'm usually really bad at remembering, and then when I'm editing, I sit there thinking like I should have said this and this and this. But with the camera on, I just can't do with the pressure. But we're gonna try our best. My floor is like very uneven, so you can hear when I step on everything, it's like cracking with every step. I'm sorry if you can hear it. I don't know if you can like tell on camera. I'm gonna try to stop moving, so maybe that helps. The first book I read in November is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a book I've heard so much about. Everyone was obsessed with it. I bought it around the time everyone else was reading it, but I just kept putting it off. I don't know why, but just every time something is really hyped up, I get scared. So in this book, we follow a group of teenagers who gets recruited to the FBI to like work cold cases, but then very quickly gets involved in active cases as well. Each of these kids have their own special set of skills. The girl we're following in this, Cassie, is a profiler. Same with Dean. I don't remember all the names, I think. Sloane is like the really smart one who knows all the statistics and numbers and all of that. Michael, I think he can read emotions. There's one more girl, I can't remember her name, but she is like a human lie detector. She can always tell when someone is lying, and she's a good liar herself. And they use these skills to look at these cold cases. I don't really know what else to say. This one, I feel like disappointed me a little bit. Not because the book is bad, but because I had built up so many expectations. And I was just expecting to be immediately obsessed. I wasn't. It took some time. Like, it was never bad. I just wasn't crazy about it like I thought I would be. It took some time for me to get into it, but when I did, I really liked it. I gave this book 4 stars. I had a good time. I feel like it's a very quick and easy read, and I enjoy that. So I want to read the next one. I have the next one, and I'm hoping to read it in a 24-hour readathon because it's perfect for that. It's very bingeable, and that's good. I had fun with it. I think I just had too high expectations. My head hurts so bad, so I can't really think. And I don't really want to do this right now, but I have my makeup done, I have my hair done, I have an actual outfit on and not just PJs, which I'm living in. So I feel like we should film. The next book I read is another very popular book, As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the 3rd book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I can't tell you too much about this series because I can't like spoil previous things. But in this one, Pip has a stalker, and as always, the police is useless. They don't want to do anything. And she finds this connection to a local serial killer, and that just takes it to a whole other level. And basically, since the police won't do anything, Pip has to find the answer. If she doesn't, it's over for her. I didn't really like this. I gave it 2 stars. I feel like the first 2 books were so good, and this one just really went downhill. Pip had like a complete character change. She was so different. In the first 2 books, she was so open, so optimistic, so smart. In this one, she kept jumping to the wrong conclusions, even when the answers were like right in front of her. The book was so predictable, like I figured it out immediately. Why didn't she? Like, she's smarter than me. And also the choices she was making I just didn't like that. I feel like that wasn't her at all. She was all about truth and the law and everything being right, and in this one she just didn't care, and I didn't like that. And like, I understand that she's changed with everything that happened in the previous books. She's dealing with that, and she's not going to be the same person. But I feel like this was just too much of a change, and I really didn't like that. And I didn't enjoy it. The next one, I don't really know what to say about. Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, which follows Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates. In Magnolia Parks, I didn't really care for these characters, but the few moments we got of them together made me interested in their relationship. This one follows the same timeline as Magnolia Parks, just from other people's perspectives. So in this one we get Daisy Hates, her brother Julian Hates, and her, what do I even call him? Sometimes boyfriend, sometimes friend, Christian Hems. Julian is kind of like a gang lord, can I call him that? Who's also raising his little sister. She's now an adult, but still, I don't know what to say. It's just very toxic, very frustrating. Bad decisions are being made. Stupid decisions are being made. So much miscommunication, but I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I hate this book. I really do. It makes me so frustrated. I hate the decisions. I don't think they're really good people either. But I love it so much. And I didn't understand before this that how it's possible to like love something and hate something at the same time. But this, I gave it 4 stars. Like, it was so hard for me to get through it because I never wanted to pick it up because it just makes me feel so much. And like, I didn't really like these characters, but I still love them. And I don't really know what to say because how do I explain that? I hate it, but I love it. I think this is something you just have to pick up and read for yourself. It's impossible to get, to understand and know from listening to someone else. So I would recommend reading this series. I kind of want to read the next one right now, but I want to read the next Daisy Hates, not the next Magnolia Parks. But I have to read Magnolia Parks before the next Daisy Hates, so that's a little annoying. I did love Magnolia Parks, I rated it 5 stars. So I'm just not ready for that toxicity again. I need to turn the oven down because I'm getting warm. After that I picked up Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I actually started this one earlier this year, then I just put it down. Not with the intention of DNFing it really, but I started this in the beginning of July, right before I went to Amsterdam to see Taylor Swift. And I brought the book with me, but obviously I was going to the Era store, I wasn't reading. And then when I came back home, I was just really suffering from the post-concert depression, missing the Era store, did not want to read. And the female main character in this was really frustrating. I didn't really like her. I don't think she's a very good person. I didn't like her morals and her like beliefs of career and money affecting someone. She did get better eventually, but I need to just tell you what it's about first. This girl is a doctor. This guy is like a small town guy. She's very rich. He's not. She's under a lot of pressure from her family. He's not. And they're just living completely different lives. She drives through this small town, car shuts down, meets this guy. She goes to the bar, meets the guy again, they hook up. She keeps like, I don't do this, I don't do one night stands. She sleeps with him, leaves, comes back. She falls in love. Obviously they both fall in love with each other, but she's constantly like, I can't be with him, he's too young. I'm a doctor, I can't be with someone like him. Our lives doesn't work. I can't bring him home. Like, what are my parents gonna say? Constantly. And I'm just so over it. You're no better than him. And that really annoyed me. Everything else about the book I really enjoyed. It's just that inner monologue with herself about why she couldn't be with him that I felt really bad about. Because she's acting like she's better than him while also being in love with him. while also being angry at her friends for treating him that way when she's constantly thinking the same thing. She got better. She got out of it. I appreciate that, and she had some character development, but I just didn't really like the woman in this. I rated the book 4 stars. The book was very cute. I liked the relationship, I liked the man, and I liked the small town. I think with a small town romance, I'm always gonna like it just because I really enjoy the small town aspect of it. But I don't really... no. I don't love this as much as everyone else does. I just didn't feel like 3 stars was high enough, so I had to give it 4 stars, but it's probably like a really low 4 star. It's not my favorite book, but I enjoyed the setting of it and the man. This next one is an author I really like, and I've liked all her previous works. Even if I haven't loved them or rated anything 5 stars, I would say I love her as an author. Then I picked up this book. It's upside down. This book, The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. This is part of the Poirot series. I think it's book number 6. I've read 4 others. They didn't have book number 5, so I skipped to this because it's not like a continuing series. It's standalones, so you can read them in whatever order you want to. This one is my least favorite out of all of the ones I've read. In this one, I don't know what to say. This person gets murdered on a train, and there's been some drama with her husband and her father, and she meets this woman. I don't really know what to say about it. Her jewels, her ruby, has been stolen. That's part of the story, and Poirot is just convinced that there's something going on, so he investigates. I feel like this was nothing. That's rude, but I didn't like this. Nothing was really happening. It was very predictable, but not in a fun way. Like, predictable can be good when you can like guess and investigate and figure things out along the story, but not when you just know. Like, it's so obvious, and I didn't really like this. I feel like it was just boring and not very well thought out, so I don't think I would recommend this one. Like, I still really like Agatha Christie, but I just didn't enjoy this book, so I gave it 2 stars, which is the lowest I've ever rated an Agatha Christie novel. I feel like the mystery wasn't even that interesting, and I didn't really like any of the characters. I didn't care about them, and I knew who the person was, so that's not fun. After I read that, I tried to pick up The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. I've read two Frida McFadden's books before, The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret. I didn't really like either of them. I enjoyed the writing, not the story, especially not the characters. Both of those books made me very angry. But I still wanted to read this because people talked about this as being very different, so I thought maybe I'll like this one. I wasn't too hopeful, but I was a little hopeful, and in this one, they obviously follow the same character, Millie, as the previous books, but in this one she's no longer a housemaid. She moves into this house with her husband and her 2 children. The housemaid in this one is the housemaid in the neighbor's house, and she meets this other woman who keeps telling her, like, be careful with your neighbors. I don't know. I didn't finish it. How many pages am I at? I got to part 2, like 210 pages, and then I just gave up. I haven't completely DNF'd it. I'm probably going to finish it before the year is over, because I hate not finishing things. But this book just makes me so angry. And we got to a point where I just can't be bothered anymore. I put it down. And this one, I didn't really love the writing either. It got better eventually, but I didn't really love anything about this. So I did put it down. Millie, which I didn't like in the previous books, is the only normal character in this. Everyone else hated. The husband, who I was expecting to love, hated. And I know he probably has his reasons for the way he's acting. Like, that's usually how this goes. I just hated him. He was so frustrating. In the way he's acting, he's not a good father, not a good husband, not a really good person. And I can, like, think and know, kind of, like I would say I don't know anything, but think that maybe there's a reason and that it will tie together, but I didn't enjoy it. And it makes me so angry. Like, I genuinely get so angry that it's ruining my entire day. So I put that one down. I don't really want to continue it, but I have like half the book left of the entire series. So I can't just stop right before the finish line. So I will be finishing it, I just don't know when, because I don't really want to. But then, the next book I read is the favorite book I've read this month. The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series. I read the Thursday Murder Club in May 2022, so it's 2.5 years ago now. I don't really remember anything of that. Obviously I know what it's about. In the Thursday Murder Club we meet these 4 people living in a retirement home who comes together every Thursday to look at cold cases. That's their idea of fun. This one starts right after where the last one ended. At the end of that book, without spoiling, Elizabeth receives a letter. This one follows the story after that letter. I don't want to say anything that can like spoil, so I'm gonna be careful. She receives a letter from an old colleague of hers, and he's being hunted, needs her help. She recruits her friends to help. Like, how much can I say? There's some stolen diamonds, so they're also trying to find those, but there's also other people trying to find those. Multiple people. So there's just a big thing going on. Another thing is happening with another one of the characters, and it just all ties together in the end. Very good. I don't know how to talk about this. The last line of this is, can the Thursday Murder Club find the killer and the diamonds before the killer finds them? Like, my favorite part of this book is how funny it is. I was laughing. I was sitting in my bed giggling because it's so funny. I tabbed it because there was just multiple times in here where I was laughing, and I feel like I usually don't laugh. I'm not very expressive when I'm reading, but with this one I couldn't help myself. It's so funny. I even showed it to my mother, being like, can you please read this? Ron is probably my favorite character. I didn't like him at first, but he's so sarcastic and it just brought humor to it. This is a mystery book, but this was just so humorous. And I love that, so I just bought the third book. And I'm hoping to read that soon, because I had a good time with this. I rated it 4.5 stars. It's not like a 5-star, but it's up there. Really enjoyed it, and I do recommend this one. If you're gonna pick up any of these. This one. Before picking it up, I was afraid that I was going to find it a little bit boring, so I've been like putting it off, because I've had this since sometime in 2022. And I've been so scared of picking it up, but I'm absolutely obsessed. Loved it. And first book is being adapted. I don't know if it's a movie or a TV show. All I know, David Tennant is starring in it. He's one of my favorite people ever, and he's going to be in that book, and I'm very excited. I hope they do this one as well. The writing is so good. Like, I'm having a really good time with that book, and thinking of that book makes me happy. And that's a good feeling. I really like that book. I even want to reread it. Like, I'm now strongly considering rereading the first one so that I can reread that one. Might do that. Probably not this year, but maybe. Like, people always talk about when you're in a slump, reread a favorite. I feel like that's the perfect book to reread. And I picked it up at the perfect time because I was so frustrated with what I was reading. But I'm gonna move on now because I can't talk about this book forever. The last book I finished, I still have another book to talk about after this, but the last book I finished was Blood of Elves. This is, depends on how you look at it, but it's the first or third book in the Witcher series. So if you look at the side, it's number 1, because technically out of all of the novels, this is number 1. But before this, there are 2 collections of short stories, The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny. They're on my shelf. I've already read those. So this is technically book 3. In this one's really hard to talk about because really nothing is happening. It's like the lead up to the war that's like being talked about, but it's also after a war, it follows a witcher, Geralt, who gets this child surprise, which basically means he saved someone, so now he gets the child. But he never collected the child until the war happened and her country got invaded. Her parents died when she was younger, her grandmother got killed. He's now trying to... We don't see this in this book, this is from the short stories. In this one they're already together. So I recommend reading the short stories first to get more of the backstory. But he's kind of just taking care of her, getting to his like childhood home, kind of. She's like training, eventually going to school. Not much is happening other than her training and people talking about a possible war. So I gave it 3 stars because it's, I wouldn't say it's very plot heavy, but it's not very character heavy either. It's just the lead up. I feel like this is a good book to like build up to something more, but it's not too exciting. The chapters are extremely long, like chapter 1 is like 40 pages. That worried me, but the writing is actually pretty easy. And I got through this very quickly as well, so I liked it. I'm excited to continue the series, but it was only a 3-star. Now, there's another book I was reading this month that I didn't finish, but I still want to mention it. The Crow Trap by Anne Cleeves. I started this one at the end of September, put it down like 40 pages in. Picked it back up like right before November ended, and now I'm 248 pages in. So I read 200 pages of this in November. Because I was exactly at page 44 when I started. Now I finished 244. I don't know how to explain my feelings for this, because this is book 1 in the Vera Stanhope series. Vera is a detective, the chief inspector in this place, Northumberland. And where do I begin? Should I talk about the book or Vera first? The book is written in 2 parts. Part 1 is split into 3 parts, following 3 women. Because in this one, these 3 different women are doing this environmental survey on this place. One of the women finds her friend hanging in a barn. It's an apparent suicide. It doesn't really tell you much at the back, so I can't really say much. This camera's gonna turn off soon. But another death happens. Told you it would turn off. Another death happens, so Vera comes in to investigate. We're gonna get more into that soon. Part 1 starts with Rachel. The entire story from her perspective, incredibly boring. The next part, Anne, same story from her perspective, incredibly boring. Then we get, what's her name? Grace. A different story, thankfully. A little bit of it. It's the same story, but also more of her backstory. That I found interesting. Then we got to part 2, which is where Vera is introduced 200 pages in. The detective in this detective novel isn't introduced until 200 pages in. Why? My favorite part of detective novels is the investigation. It's barely started, and I'm on page 245. Also, this is a show. The show is based on these books. I love that show. Grew up watching it. Just rewatched it with my parents. Love it. One of my favorites. Vera is kind of an unconventional character. She's not very nice. She can be very forward, strict, borderline mean, but there's still a charm to her in the TV show. This one, hated her. Where's the charm? Not here. She was just rude, mean. She hadn't even been in it much, but I just got a really bad vibe from her. And what I was most excited about in this book was seeing Joe, the sergeant. He's been mentioned twice. He said like 1 word, and then he left. Obviously I haven't finished it yet, so there's still a chance that he's gonna be there more. I know that eventually it's gonna be a chapter or a part of the book from Vera's perspective, and part 3 is from Vera's perspective. So I'm assuming it's gonna be more interesting when we get into the actual investigation, and I'm probably gonna like her more when we get to see her from her point of view. But right now, disappointed. I was hoping to love it because I love the show. And I really want all of these books on my shelf. But I can't justify buying them if I'm hating it. But it's getting better. We're getting somewhere. And then it's going a little downhill again. But we're hoping it's gonna go back up. So, at some point this month, December, we'll be reading this. Finishing it before the new year. I promise. Am I? I don't know. But I feel like I've had like a mixed reading month. Some books I liked. Some I really didn't like. But it's okay. It's fine. It's all good. Everything's fine. But that's it for now. I'll see you tomorrow. If you've read any of them, tell me what you thought. Would love to know. Also subscribe. I'm posting every day. It's bookmas. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna stop talking now because I'm annoying myself. Peace out, lovers.